Hey everybody, it's Marty the JavaScript Party. My buddy Rhett, and we are just chillaxing and writing some code this morning, trying to get rolling because it is 7:39 a.m. on Friday, and it is, according to my little thing up here, it's 71 degrees, mostly cloudy. I think it's supposed to rain most of today. We had some massive rainstorms yesterday. Um, So that was good. That was good. And the reason that was good is because, yeah, we're getting like a lot of protests and stuff, and I guess the rain probably squelched that. Yeah. So basically at 5:30 tonight, it's supposed to start raining again. I get off at 5, so I might be able to get a good run in. I play Ultimate Frisbee on Sunday, so we'll see. Um, with that, and that is Father's Day, so don't forget that. Um, if you have a father that you appreciate, that would be a good day to show your appreciation. I say it feels like 78 degrees. That's felt about right. And then apparently I'm in the market for women's bathing suits, according to the internet. So that's funny. And yeah, we're past the full moon. It's kind of chilling out. Probably time to unwind a little bit. And that is your weather forecast for the Atlanta metro area today. Rhett seems to be feeling better. Oh, I forgot to get her a nut. So she is. Yeah, I know. I know. Wow. Yeah, I'll definitely get her one. Um, you can see the little silver thing that she knocked over yesterday. Um, so, anyways, we have a bug, and we have been working on this bug for a little bit. Basically, our whole context changed. Before, what would happen, like originally, what was happening is right in the app, we would create visualizations, and then we move that into a its own component, which caused some timing issues and caused some things to break, and we fixed all those things and all that. And so then we um, added like a new view, which we haven't implemented the new view yet, but we added the new view, and then we added routing so that you could switch from view to view, and we came into a brand new novel situation, and that brand new novel situation was that if you we never had the concept of, hey, a bunch of visualizations exist before the view is created, before the component is rendered, right? So basically, that's just a novel situation. We just never had it before. Um, so we didn't have any code to handle that situation. So then I added some code um, so that we could handle that situation, but now we seem to have a timing issue. So I added like a events, a route handling event. So when the because what I would really so like if we were in 2000, year 2000 right now, or 2001, we'd be saying never ever create race conditions. But once asynchronous code came out and all that, just there's just and these sorts of that kind of thing, race conditions are just a reality that we have to live with now. It was nice in the world time when we didn't have to ever create race conditions, but it's just a reality. And then when you're using frameworks, the framework architects, the people who make the framework can they as they do make modifications, the timing changes on the way things happen. So, it's just one of those things that you have to be you just have to live with now and kind of code around race conditions, which is a bummer. But so I got it to where, like, if you go like this, right? If you add a visualization and then you add a second visualization and then you change views and then you come back, you only have, you can only see one. And the reason you can see one is because these things never got drawn again. And so we had like, that was our belief, right? Is that they just never got updated. And then, and that was, like the story that I created for myself to understand how to fix this bug. So to prove that story, I said, okay, what if I add another one? And sure enough, all three of them. So basically, it just needs to be run again. So we had proven that that was the problem. Is that the oh well, actually, the problem was that um, the hash hadn't changed. So when it did run, even if it did run, the since this where is it? Since this hash was staying the same, it wasn't running. So that was the story I had, and I thought I'd proven that story. And that story was true, but it wasn't the actual problem. There was a problem that was happening before this even happened in my current story that I came up with. Because what we did was we said, hey, anytime the router changes, run that. And then we added a flag to say whether it should ignore basically means ignore the hash. Like just redraw it even if the hash is the same. And then we added some logic in here um, to say, hey, or ignore hash. If ignore hash is true, then go ahead and do it, even if this fails, this first part fails, which is the visualization hash hasn't changed. So, and it wouldn't like for the sake of readability and maintainability, it might make sense to make this into a function that says hash has changed, um, and just so that we could say if hash has changed or ignore hash, do this. Look, I forgot. I forgot to give you a nut. I will get you a nut. I promise. At the end of this, I'll try really hard to remember to get you a nut. Okay? See, she's not giving me a kiss this time, so she's just like, where's my nut? You want your nut, huh? Well, I don't have a nut. Look, I don't have a nut here. I'm sorry. But, so anyways, so that's where we're at with this. So, but it still didn't work, right? So, like, if I go here and then I come back, it still didn't work, even though I do run this. So let's look. So my new story was that there's a timing issue, that the code that is handling the route position is happening after or before the vises are set up. And that does make sense if you think about it, because, well, I don't know if it makes sense, but it can be like this services have to exist and have to be all set up before the components can be. So it makes sense that the services would sort of do their basic constructor work and all that other stuff before the components. So that seems to be a thing. Now, that's a story. I don't know if it's true or not. It's just a story. So let's try to validate that story. And of course, the last time we validated a story, it wasn't enough. But I think the easiest way to validate the story would be to like add a delay. So we're going to do set timeout. I think it's like this. Yeah. I'm always very confused at why it offers this, but I believe this is the timeout. This is the version, the one that's sort of camel case. And with set timeout, you give it a function. And if you give it an arrow function like this, Rhett, stop it. If you give it a arrow function like this, it'll maintain the context. And then let's run this function. So we're going to say, wait 1 second, and then, which 1 second is a long, long time. But then redraw, then do this. And hopefully after a second after coming back, it'll come back. That's not the final solution. All we're trying to do is sort of ground ourselves in reality, trying to ensure that the reasoning that we've come up to is actually the correct reasoning. Because if not, then we're just going to go down a rabbit hole and never. And at the end of it, once it's going to take forever to prove to ourselves that we're wrong. So let's just get that over with to start with. drum roll. Yep. So after a second, it ran. So that to me indicates that we have a timing issue. So how do we handle this timing issue? I mean, this is one way. Let's see if we make it 0. If it still resolves itself. I would think it would, but I'm not 100%. I've definitely seen it not. Okay, so it did not. So if you can't do 0, then that's usually like to me like, hey, let's not do it this way. Um, but so I don't think we want to do this animations thing, which is kind of a bummer. I do think maybe we want to call the redraw. Maybe there's an event in the um, actual. So we basically what we have is a visualization. Each one of these visualizations their own component, and then the whole visualization, custom visualization thing is a component. And maybe there's a way to determine when the whole visualization is done. This app custom layout, when it's done building all the components inside of it. And then maybe we can call it at that point. So then we no longer have a race condition. We know that it happens when it's supposed to happen. But before we do that, yeah, this is one of the hardest things is like we really don't want code that doesn't actually work because it's going to be very, very confusing to anybody who wants to who has to maintain it, right? So basically we're going to comment all this out because I don't really want to get rid of it yet, but I do want to make sure it doesn't make it into the code base. So I'm commenting it out because I know just as a personal thing that before I do a commit, I will go through and look for anything that looks weird, and this will definitely look weird. So I think I can be pretty reliable. But I do think I still need this version of the call that redraws and ignores the hash. I think I need that. But what I would like to do is only do it after app custom layout is completely done drawing all of the children. Right? So app custom layout loops over these and creates a bunch of app vises. And each app, once all the app vises have been completely rendered, I would like to then run that. And I believe I have access to the animation service. I think that's the right one. Let's see. I just want to see if I have access to if that's the right one. This dot animation service dot add animation. Is it that one? Animate visualizations? I don't even remember. Let's see. Unfortunately, we have a couple that are sort of named similarly. Animate visualizations, that's not it. Set position. Yeah. So we would do like a set position like this. True. I thought maybe it's not set position. Go to visualization layout. Visualizations layout. Yeah, I don't know about that. That name now doesn't. So in context, I'm sure at the time that name made a lot of sense. Now it's like, I don't know. That's kind of hokey. So we're going to want to do something like that, but we're going to want to do it after all visualizations are done. And unfortunately, after basically all of these are done, set up DOM visualizations. So let's see what happens here. I wonder if I can do it after this because this is all done. And we could say, hey, if setup DOM visualizations is greater than 0, then run that. Let's try that. That should work. Can't see why it wouldn't. But this should give us a viz count. Is equal to that. And then if viz count is greater than 0, and we could just say if viz count because I believe that viz count of 0 would return a false. But you know, I don't want to imply that that's a Boolean, and that is probably one of the things I really like about C# and .NET. I think it's C#. Is that you can say, hey, this is a number, and then I would be able to say if viz count. But I think in there it would also I don't think they do the falsy stuff the way JavaScript does. So. And this is actually probably why, this timeout is probably why that other thing doesn't work. The routing didn't work. Maybe, I don't know. Oh, why did it let me have a space there? All right, so this, I don't know. I don't have a high, I think it should work. I don't have a super high confidence that it will work because I didn't really dig into it. But, we are masters of the universe. Yes, so now as we change, everything works. And so that bug is, I think, officially squashed. Now the next thing that I want to figure out, and I think we're done. I think that's it. Like we've played that out. I guess this would be the easiest time to go out and remove all that commented code in the visualization service that we added. It was in the animation service that we added. Because honestly, this will never be easier. And I guess we don't even need a constructor anymore. And yeah, we did that. So that was good. And it's not even 8 yet. All right, so I think the next weird thing is like this. Like why? Why do we have the scroll bars? And I'm guessing it's because let's see, app tabular layout. Yeah, that's weird. Like, what is causing? I don't know what's causing this thing to blow out like that. It's like the body is just too tall. Is it because of this thing right here? Yeah. And do we need that body height? Looks like I did that on purpose. But for some reason, we have this little thing at the top there, that little area. See at the very top up there? We have some little thing there that It's probably like a margin. I don't quite know what's causing that. So let's just do this. Okay, so when we delete the element, it goes away. So it's something to do with the element in there. So I feel like there's got to be a margin up here. So what you can do is you can hit this computed. Nope, there's no margin on that. So is it this guy? No, because it's all in there. That guy. Router outlet's not doing anything. This guy's not doing anything. So for some strange reason, the body is it's saying 100%, right? But for some reason the body has a little bit of space. See, this thing is showing that, right? So this HTML, and that's not showing any. Then the body, styles. And again, this is like one of those things where it's just like, it'll just never be easier to figure out this. I don't think it'll ever be harder, but, and I don't know that we need the height of the body. The reason you often will have the height of the body be 100% is because you want to control the background color. You don't want to have some weird little gray thing at the bottom here or something like that. You want it to do that, but let's see. So in here in styles, we have this HTML is 100% and the body's 100%. Let's see if ChatGPT knows that thing. This is an opportunity. This is one of those opportunities to learn something. Maybe it might be easy to learn. A margin, a space above my body element that is forcing, or that is making my HTML page have scroll bars. The body height is set to 100%. So maybe, yeah, that might be a good idea. Let's go into the styles and not only. So right now we have height, but let's try margin 0. It wasn't showing, the other thing wasn't really showing anything. And we have that, but let's set the margin 0 and that. And then like this is one of those weird sort of things that like in that sonar cube thing I was talking about, that it would just like flip out. It would be like, this is an ultimate end of the world bug because you have a margin here and a margin here, especially if they were different. This margin overwrites that margin. I'm curious if I put a comment when that happened. You 3 months ago implements basic Animation. Implements ThreeJS application. Video 7. So that's something I did very early on. I know another, like, it won't be, I think it's a high, is having the PX. 0px. It's like, I don't know why that bothers some systems, but it really does. Right. So, okay, so that seems to have fixed it. Giving a margin of 0 to the body. Or probably a padding of 0. I guess we must have had some sort of padding. And then this is just another duplicate. And then it's kind of weird to have another body tag. Well, I guess because it doesn't apply to that. But I guess this one. So we have like 2 just plain old standalone body tags. So let's go ahead and I suspect that happened because of when we installed Angular material. But let's go, while we're here, we might as well take care of that. And I don't know if there's any sort of consequences to, and you know, this would be a good thing to ask ChatGPT. I'm curious. So this is my CSS. Okay. Okay, so they did one other thing: box size and border box height. So he moved the margin. Okay, so the margin height is there. What is different? Oh, we don't have the height. What happened to my height? Oh, darn it. I got rid of, so we just knew getting rid of the height to begin with would fix the problem. Okay, yeah, so the scroll issue's back. So let's try this app before. Oh, okay, so I do not like that overflow X hidden. I think that's silly because I might actually want an overflow X. I think that's, honestly, I'd rather get rid of the height 100% than the overflow X. Okay, but that seems to have solved it. Okay, I guess we don't need this one. Box sizing, inherit. So I think this is saying everything gets 100. Now, I think this is saying that nothing can have, but I think that will get overridden pretty easily. And I guess I want to stay with the consistent tabbing. And then the last thing was this: font, background color, black. Okay, yeah, and I don't want that. So I'm wondering, I wonder why. Font, family, and background color can't go into the HTML/body selector. slash rule. Shouldn't go in HTML. Font family is inherited, so it works fine. Only applies to. Whoa. What? Interesting. All right. So, yeah, apparently there's an inheritance thing. CSS, I think, kind of when it first came in, it was just like CSS1. It was so incredibly simple that other than the concept of specificity, there was absolutely no reason to study it or to learn it or to obsess about it. And I believe it has become by far the most difficult of the three major languages that you have to learn to be an effective web developer: CSS, HTML, JavaScript. And CSS is just absolutely by far the most difficult, in my opinion. Um, just the whole concept of the whole cascading concept where, things get inherited, some things get inherited, some things don't, and stuff like that just makes it really, really tough. Um, and much like Git, it's one of those things where I know a lot of very, very successful web developers that have worked in web development successfully for a decade, and they don't hardly understand CSS. So anyway, so that issue is now resolved. Let's see, and then and so now I'm wondering if this is. I don't. It seems. Okay, so what do we have? I wonder if this is a good commit point. And I wonder, I don't know about, okay, if we need to, if there's any testing changes. I guess with the end-to-end test, it would be nice to have one that then changes the view and then comes back and then with it already resized and then checks to see if they're already in the right place. Um, okay, so we definitely don't want this to survive any longer. And we definitely don't want these two console logs. Yeah, I guess this is a good commit point. Just because like this code I think will be like sort of hard to understand what the whole point of this entire um, like if we mix this code in with the next code, it's likely to make that code very difficult to understand what we were doing in that commit. So this is more about protecting the next commit than this commit. And then, yeah, so we'll definitely need some more unit tests probably for this upsert component. And this commit is all about like handling the refresh. Okay, so we're good on that. We have 8.13. I think it's time to move into unit testing. Run test. So the first step is, are any existing unit tests broken? They might be. I mean, there's no telling. We did change how foundationally how the very fundamentals of how it works, and this is probably where like unit tests shine, because if we have somehow broken and changed the very foundation of how this works, we've been so deep in the weeds here that we haven't even had time to contemplate that. And so this will be the opportunity to contemplate what the implications are, what the 30,000 foot implications are. um, of this endeavor we have taken. And I don't know why it's taking so long for it to build. Uh, I feel like everything is slower in in uh, in Angular since I upgraded to 20. Because this, I don't think this used to take this long. Like I could see, yeah, it's just weird that it's taking so long for it to build the application out. See, did we get 100%? 100? Kind of look like it. Maybe it's at the end. That looks different now, though. I guess it was still running. Not 100%, but did we get all tests passed? It looks like all the tests passed. So that is a good sign. And then the next step is to look at our code coverage and see if we still have 100% code coverage. No, we do not. We can actually see that we have lost our 100% code coverage. So then what we need to do is we need to create a new tab that it won't use, but for some reason it will not. Now, funnily enough, if I were to drag this coverage file into here, into ChatGPT, I believe it would get uploaded to ChatGPT, and then ChatGPT would be like, "Oh, blah 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 blah," and give me opinions about my coverage. But that is not what. Although I don't know if there's any information that in the actual index file. There probably isn't. So basically, looks like our problem is in here and here. So I guess we should start with app services visualization, just sort of dig in to see what's happening. So yeah, the upsert, that makes sense. And then get first empty visualization. And we don't ever test this if the visualization is undefined. And that's because we don't come back probably in any of our tests. Like we don't go to the one view and then come back to the other view. Let's see. So there's that one. And then let's go back over here. And then basically I never run this if the viz count is greater than 0. Oh Lord. So it's okay. So yeah, it would be a lot easier to unit test this if I pull this into another function and just call it with the viz count, and then in the viz count do that. So let's rewrite this code so that it is a little bit easier to unit test. And the name of this thing is app custom layout component.tsp. And I feel like that process that like of just looking at this and immediately coming to the conclusion, like that used to take like a whole session to come to that conclusion, and now we just instantly come to that conclusion. And that is sort of how coding works. Okay, I don't want that line. Okay, so update visualization layout, and it takes a count, which is a number. I guess I might as well call it a viz count. That's a number, and it returns a Boolean. No, it returns a number. We'll just return the number that it got, and then what? That's not. I don't think that's supposed to be uppercase, is it? goodness. Today is Friday. And it happens to be my 32nd anniversary with my lovely wife. Man, it's been a trip. It's been such a trip. Oh, why did I have a semicolon there? There we go. And then basically we just want to add this code in here. So we don't care, honestly, if what happens with visualization. Like visualization layout should be tested in animation service. So, I don't care about calling like has been called or any of that kind of stuff. Okay. uh, and I noticed that like almost everywhere I work, they will put this in here, the call itself, as opposed to the number. I find that so much harder to read. I do find and it's much harder to debug through. Um, I find myself constantly finding things like that, assign like literally rewriting it like this while I'm working and then putting it back because I noticed that when I go to do the commit and I look at everything, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, this needs to go back in there. So I don't know. I don't know why that is such a popular thing, but it seems so much harder to make sense of. So what I'm expecting to see is this to now be a one-liner, this one-liner, and that one-liner is called, but that visualization count of greater than 0 never gets called. Yep. So now I think this is pretty easy because I can just give it a number. And I don't know what happens. It'll actually be interesting to see what happens when I just give it a number. Um, Nothing should happen because it's just iterating over its array over there in the visualization layout. So it shouldn't be an issue. But let's go into our spec. Look at our time. 8:21 is good. I actually put in a really big, not by lines of code, but like importance to the organization pull request today. And that was like, I should. And so I'm a bit anxious about starting my work day today because it's like I know it's going to be very, very closely looked at. And like literally the code that I wrote that I'm checking in, that I checked in yesterday and put in for PR is going to affect the organization for probably the next 10 years. It's going to be pretty impactful. So I definitely want it to be right. So if I got something wrong in it, I definitely want my boss to catch it, but I don't think I got anything wrong with it. I was super careful. But should update the visualization layout. And then, so this is our spec, and then the first thing is the assertion string, which describes what the specification or the test is doing. And then the next thing is the actual code that we want to apply to our TypeScript. So inst viz equals, let's just say 5. I don't know. I think this should work. So then result is equal to component dot update, nope, wrong one, update visualization layout, and then viz count, and then we expect viz count to be equal, I guess it's to equal result. And then doom, doom, boom. Boom. I think we did go up. And let's see. Riddle. And we 100. And we still have time. All right. So that's cool. So we got our first unit test done. I honestly think the day one of this application, when we first started doing unit tests, that would have taken a whole session. Maybe even just figuring out that this needs to be broken out. I probably would have spent a bunch of time trying to make the set timeout happen and all that other stuff. And now it was just like a 5-minute task. And I would imagine we'll get even faster at that because, just gone down that path. All right, so I think this one is going to be a little bit harder. I think everybody else is at 100%. And I think the other thing I would have done is I probably would have tried to get like the top one to run everything or something like that. Now I just go straight into the thing, into that. So basically we want to upsert this viz for component and we're expecting a value back. And then we haven't got that. So I think this should happen all the time. It's kind of crazy because I'm wondering. Okay, so this, let's go ahead and look. We must have some pretty good. No, it is interesting. Okay, so the way we test one of these must test this side, but we never test it if it's empty. So, and this file is called visualization service. So I'm going to close everything else. And actually, we just want to go to the spec. So close others. And then here we go. And then basically, what we want to do is test upsert. For no visualizations, right? So this is the one we want to test. And we want to test it if there are no visualizations. Oh, wait. This is if there is an empty visualization. So that's actually going to be tough. A little bit harder. Because we actually want to go to get first empty visualization and return something. So I think I'm going to ask ChatGPT for help on this because, and to be completely honest, the biggest reason I'm not really going to try to like sort of really understand it, honestly, if I'm being completely honest here, is because this has been deprecated anyways, right? So Angular has deprecated, the Angular core team has deprecated these sorts of unit tests anyway. So like sort of grinding through and trying to understand how it all works isn't going to do me a bit of good, in my personal opinion. But I guess we can do the first part though. There's no reason not to do the first part, and that is to set up the actual specification, aka test. Should test upsert for empty visualization. And I will say that, like, I guess I was slightly confused when I was looking at this code, and the reason I was slightly confused is because, like, empty implies none, and that's not true. Um, it isn't. It does exist. It's just empty. So that's something to think about. So, anyways, so this should always return true. Um, and I wonder about that. Does that make sense to always return true, or does it make sense to like return true for this situation, return false for this situation? Hmm. And would that break anything? And did we test that other thing didn't break anything? The last change? I don't know if we ever tested. Like, it passed the unit test, but then did we end up breaking? No. I think that's so freaking cool. Um, so we did not break it. I mean, that's everything. But it does seem like we're going to need to add some, like, at least another step to when you click, like when you come back, when you click here, like at the end of that one test where we add all 16 of them, we come back and that all 16 are still where they belong. Um, but anyways, that's for end-to-end testing. Should So what I'm thinking is that in here, set up visualizations. It's this guy, right? Right here. Let's see how we use this one. I don't think, yeah, we don't even care. Okay, so let has had empty equals false. And then we're gonna, I guess, add a little space here, let it breathe a little bit, and then had empty is equal to true. And then return had empty. This is different, I think. Initial chunk files. Maybe that's why things are slower now. I don't know. I do like that though. Gives me something to think about. Chunk GA spec. So all these are specs. Yeah, that's so interesting. Um, so anyways, I don't think that's going to break anything. Let's just run through it real quick. All right. So had empty is false. Had empty is true. The false will just fall through, so we don't really need to set it there. And now we go back to our spec. I guess we'll just run it. I guess at this point it probably is just going to be easier to ask ChatGPT to write a unit test for this one. Let's see. So I don't care about these spy-ons. I do probably want the empty viz though. And then result component. Wait a second. What? Is it testing the right one? I feel like it's not get first. I don't want. Okay. Upsert viz mock component is the result. And it's going to take my mock component. So let's try this first line. Let's see what happens. So basically, this is going to create a mock component. And what I don't like about this is that this is locking me into Jasmine. So basically, I think what's happening is since I'm going to use this a lot, use this sort of thing a lot, that means I'm going to have to completely rewrite or abandon unit testing. I don't know what I'll do at the time. Whenever, and who knows, because like the Angular team, there are examples of things that they have had literally deprecated since, you know, since Angular 4. So, you know, okay, so I'm just curious if this works. Const, we're creating a macro, we're doing this Jasmine create spy function. It's going to create something called a viz component, an object called viz component. Oh, well, yeah, I guess it's called, let's see if this gives us a base name and a method name that has a set as initialized. It's kind of weird, right? Because like, why does it have a set as initialized? Oh, because it's, yeah, so it calls that here. Okay. And I don't really care if it calls set as initialized or not. Um, but I probably need it so that it will be able to call it. I just want to make sure that that actually works, that nothing breaks. Okay. Now, I think I probably need my empty viz. And we'll circle back around after I've gotten everything I want done. Because really all I'm trying to do, like I think it's trying to do a little bit more than I'm trying to do. I think all I'm trying to do is, I know all I'm trying to do is get to 100% code coverage. That's it. You notice that it's complaining that I have this, that I don't have any assertions inside of my specification. Has no expectations. I have no expectations inside of my specification. All right. I think this might very well get me to 100%. Nope, it failed. It's not a function. So it says that this right here, set as initialized, where is it? Is initialized, it's not a function. Now, am I doing anything here? Okay. So let's get this line. Okay, so let's just do this. I don't really understand. Okay. This service, result service upsert. Go to new viz manager. Now, do I pull in? All right, so this is not working, and I don't understand. Viz Manager. Why is it trying to create a Viz Manager? I feel like I'm very close already with just this mock component. So it is complaining that is initialized is not a function. So let's come in here and see. Where is it getting is initialized? So it's weird, right? I wonder why it's this get first. So set as is initialized is a function. Oh, I don't need to. I wonder if it's because of this create viz for this viz component. Okay, so let's go back to our spec here. So our component, our mock component, has no is. It has a set viz. So weird. Mock component. It's initialized. We're going to give it a function. See if we can do that. Equals. True. So basically we gave mock component a function called is initialized, and the function, all it does is return true. Let's see what we get. Okay, so that made it happy because then it was able to call it, and that is wonderful. Now, it looks like we got two here. It went to this get first in visualization, and then it didn't get a visualization. Let's see, where are we on time? 8:42. We're still good. All right, so what we want is for get visualization to actually return a visualization. And so let's go back to our help. So assume this is part of a class called Viz Manager. Okay, so this is not part of a class called Viz Manager. This is part of a class called, and I think we already have service. So I don't even think we need this line at all. So basically, yeah, we already have our service. So spy on service. So let's see if we can do this. Okay, so it's upset about this right here. And it's saying that I can't do that because it's not an ST visualization. And so we could, I think we could force it as unknown. And I don't know if this is going to work because unknown, then as, I think it's ST visualization. So basically we're saying, yeah, I know this doesn't have everything that an ST visualization is supposed to have, but go ahead and try to use it. Just force it to be that way, and we'll see what happens. And it wouldn't surprise me if it breaks. And it didn't. And I think we actually have a little bit more coverage now. Yep. And my whole goal in life here is just to get to 100%, not to build meaningful tests. That's not what I'm here for. So that's not why I'm doing this. Now, maybe it's someday in the future, but I feel like I'm already spending so much time on testing that we're in a diminishing returns kind of situation. Um, and if I'm being completely honest, I don't really exactly understand what all these tests are doing. Um, and that could come back to bite me. Create viz for component. And so that's coming through, and we basically overwrote this create viz for component function and get first visualization function. And it returns a mock empty. It's supposed to return a mock empty viz. I wonder if we still need this line here. No, so we don't need that anymore. Don't quite understand why. I guess, yeah, I don't really understand why set is initialized. We don't need that anymore. I think because it's stilling it's stilling this. It's running this as out. It's not running the actual get empty visualization. And then that's because, and that's good. I mean, that's fine. But that's why this isn't working. That's why this isn't marked up. This thing didn't actually get ran. Um, create viz for component. Do I need that one? I guess I need that one, but maybe not. I don't want to have any more code than I need, because maybe at some point I'll actually want to understand this. Okay, did that change anything? No, so we do not need this line. I'm confident we need the other line though. Now, why do we have a mock? Oh, mock component is what I send in. And mock empty viz is. See, I think this is so much easier to, like, it's so much easier because we only have the results. I mean, because we only have code that actually does stuff. If we'd have just left that other code in there, this would be a lot harder. And so now, what are we expecting the result to be? So let's just, I find that the easiest way to determine what the result is to be 1. And it's going to be like that. Nah, brah, that wasn't 1. Oh, that's 2 equal 1. It's going to be like 1 is not equal to whatever, and then I just take whatever it is and copy it in there. What? True. Oh, because this thing... This is testing get first empty visualization, which returns either undefined or that. Oh my gosh, why did that work? Why didn't that fail? 2 equal false. Upsert viz. Oh, it does return. Okay, so I guess that is what we expect. It wasn't empty, so it actually returned a true. So that's good. All right. So the whole point of breaking these into smaller functions is so that it'd be easier to unit test. Now, we want to do a second unit test. It's 8:49, so I have a few more minutes. And we want to get the first visualization. And we actually want there to be a visualization for it to go over. And basically we want it to be an ST visualization, and basically we want to get the visualization back. And so I think this is something we could muddle through, but I don't care. I just want 100%. I just want my perfect scores. Should get first empty visualization. And then we give it a function. I guess, yeah, the string is the assertion, expectation is a string, and then this is the assertion, this function. And so I think we just want this visualization to be something, and then we want to get it back. So let's just ask ChatGPT for help with this one. $8.50. Write a unit test for okay, this is what we want. Viz component. So it's upset because these viz components aren't the right kind, right? And they want to be, and I guess it's supposed to be a set of visualizations. Mock empty. I think we only want one, so who cares if. So I believe that, okay, so now I have my mock viz empty. I think I can just do this. No, why not? So this is supposed to be an ST visualization, right? It's supposed to be an array of these things. Oh, maybe it's not supposed to be. Probably aren't supposed to have the. Yeah, there we go. All right, so now. See what we get. I'm gonna have to go. It looks like there's some stuff going on. Yeah, unfortunately, I just don't have time at this point to finish this up, but we are very close. I'm not sure if there's something wrong with this test. So, anyways, happy coding, everybody. Bye. Have a great weekend.